Hey guys, it's Doc Lale, and it's that time again. What did I pick up in my comic book haul this week? Let's take a look and see. And let's start, as we always do, with my pick of the week. And this week's pick is Green Lantern issue number 33 / issue 600. This is an oversized issue by Jeremy Adams, Ron Mars, Zermanico, Dan Jurgens, Viken Marion, Daryl Banks, Norm Rapmond, Fajardo Jr., Lucas Gandini, and Sotomayor. And why is this the pick of the week, you say? It's because you get to see Kyle step up again. He's kind of the chosen one. Ever since Hal stepped off to become Parallax years ago, then it's kind of like, well, if we can't get Hal, then we'll get Kyle. Kyle is always, he's not necessarily second fiddle, but he's nobody's first choice because everybody loves Hal. No offense, Kyle. Everybody loves Hal. But anyway, this has got the framing sequence of Hal disappearing. Then you have a story called I Love L.A. by Jeremy Adams with Zermanico. City of Angels, The Origin of Kyle Rayner by Jeremy Adams with Viken Marion. Brighter Day, The Origin of Hal Jordan by Jeremy Adams with Dan Jurgens. And then you get a special story at the end called Light in Darkness with writer Ron Mars and artist Daryl Banks. And you get to understand how much people love Green Lantern and love Hal, love the character, love the mythos, love everything. And the main story, of course, is Kyle going with, I just said her name, didn't I? Odyssey. So they're together and they're going to their new apartment in LA, and Kyle is trying to show her about Earth. And in the meantime, he goes into this story called City of Angels, of course, in LA, talking about the origin of Kyle Rayner. And that part is penciled by Viken Marion. You get to see that he was a struggling artist. He fell in love with Alex DeWitt, and you get to see finally why Alex and he were broken up at the beginning. Because somebody came and offered him a job as an artist, a comic artist, and he poured so much into that she was into it at first. And then she got a little frustrated because she wanted to go out. She wanted to have a life. She wanted to enjoy the fruits of their labor. They were young. They should have gone out and enjoyed it. And then finally she decided to leave. And in the end, Kyle says, I had her, but I didn't see her. Sometimes you're too close to the forest to see the trees. And so after that story finishes, then you get to see somebody at Lost Cause Studios, and he's like an editor, and he says, you know what, I'm going to fire all of my graphic designers, all of my artists, and I'm going to create art simply from AI. And then Kyle, in the first story, is sent by Jessica Cruz to find some of these interdimensional runaways that need to be captured, and I think there's 7 of them. And so this guy ends up getting taken over by one of those creatures, and he can create almost like dark force energy instead of light energy like Kyle and the other Green Lanterns. This is a darker type of energy, and so it's almost like fighting another Green Lantern. But in the end, Kyle and company prevail. So you get to see, again, love shown to Kyle Rayner. He's a great character. And I hated that I picked up Green Lantern first at Emerald Twilight. And actually, I picked it up with issue 50. That's where I started. So I unfortunately got to see the downfall of Hal Jordan and the birth of Kyle Rayner all in one issue. But I liked Kyle, but in the end, I like Hal better. Hal is my Green Lantern. Hashtag my Green Lantern, and Kyle is hashtag not my Green Lantern. I have enjoyed both characters, but I can relate more. I don't know if that makes me an old soul or just an old man, but I can relate more to Hal and how he feels and his motivations more so than I can to Kyle, even when I was a young man. So you get all of these awesome stories. You get to see some Dan Jurgens artwork in a Green Lantern book, which is not something that has been seen very often. And then you get to see the return of Ron Mars and Daryl Banks. And I like Daryl Banks' artwork, but you know what? I think I like it better with Romeo Tanghal inking him. Because here he inks his own stuff, and I don't know, the panel layout is different than what I'm used to seeing from Daryl Banks. The actual artwork is different than what I'm used to seeing from Daryl Banks. It's not that I don't like it, it's just different. But it's nice to see that DC honors the long-standing careers of not only their characters, but their creators. And they give Ron and Daryl a chance to come back and work on their greatest character together once again. So, bravo DC, 600 issues. Let's keep going. Jeremy Adams, keep writing the book for another 200 issues. You're golden. You're golden. Now, for the most beautiful book, again, we have Skinbreaker. I almost said Skinwalker, different book. But Robert Kirkman and David Finch worked on this one. This is the only artwork I'm going to show you from this particular issue, because this is the only artwork that you need to see. Look how beautiful that is. Look at the lightning in the sky. Look at the level of detail on the leaves. No wonder it took him so long to work on this book. David Finch is an absolute master of the pencil and ink. And in the end, you get to see the old chieftain come back. And the new chieftain, the one who had been sent out to kill him, he says, I was wrong. I led our people into dismay and destruction because I didn't listen to you. I should have put my pride aside and worked together with you to create a better tomorrow instead of the one that I've given our people. And he says, it's not over. The old father figure says, it's not over. Instead, why don't we work together? And it seems as though that they're still overwhelmed, but sometimes you just need a partner in crime. Sometimes you just need that little bit of help to help you get out of a sticky situation. Penultimate issue, guys. Wait for the trade on this one, but just soak it up. An Image, if you're listening, you need to make an oversized hardcover of this when this is all said and done. Not quite an absolute, but something very similar. It needs to be an artist edition. It needs to show off the pencils and the breakdowns, and then show off all of that beautiful artwork. Just like this, in an oversized format. Get to it. All right, ASM number 25. I was thinking that 25 was going to be thicker because it would be a quote-unquote anniversary issue, but apparently not. But here we have Joe Kelly and, let's see here, Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness. I'm trying to remember who the inker is. Cliff Rathburn is the inker. But I picked up this really cool variant cover, which was a classified cover. And so it shows Peter Parker and Venom. And so they're both targets of torment. But I really enjoyed this issue. You get to see Carnage unleashed against Torment because he wanted Torment to be his new host. And instead, Torment said, the spirals must be complete. He has his own mythology. He has his own way of his own religion, if you will, of what he has to follow in order for things to make sense. And so Carnage says, no. And then Torment says, we will speak more about this when the spirals are closed. And in the end, you get to see Venom, aka Mary Jane, talking to Eddie Brock, aka Carnage, and they all decide to work together because Mary Jane does not want to work with with Carnage. Does not want to work with Eddie Brock. And Peter says, splitting up leaves everybody vulnerable. Fighting about it and gives Torment time to get a better game plan. So she sends Flash Thompson to go try to save Aunt Anna and Aunt May while they're trying to figure out how to take down Torment. So this is a really good part. It's not as well put together, I don't think, as the previous 4 parts have been. But it's still a very solid story, and it's one of the better ones, and I think you get to see how good Joe Kelly is because he can let go of his goofiness and let it fly with Carnage and Venom together, just like he did with Deadpool back in 1997. So, not the pick of the week, but still a very solid issue of Amazing Spider-Man. All right, next up, we have Void Arrivals, issue number 28, Quintesson War, part 4 of 6. Kind of bored with this. I've really enjoyed Void Arrivals. I was going to drop it with issue 7 back, way back when. Almost 2 years ago, I was going to drop it. And I'm glad that I've stuck it out. But now that I've seen what Robert Kirkman can do to a property like Transformers, I'm scared for what's going to happen for our lovely 2 main characters, the Zertonians and the Agorians, Salila and Darak. I'm scared for what kind of turns he's going to make. So I might drop Void Rivals after the end of the Quintesson War. We'll just have to wait and see. Speaking of which, I did decide, because money has gotten tight, I've dropped, unfortunately, Absolute Wonder Woman, and I've also dropped Feral. I've dropped Department of Truth from the titles that I collect. So, unfortunately, those 3 are not going to be featured on the channel anymore as of right now. They got to Absolute Wonder Woman. I may try to pick it up again. I really love that book. It's the best of all the Absolute books, in my opinion. It's the best. But I just can't afford to pick up all of these books at the same time, pay light bill, house bill, internet bill, all these things. So something had to give. But we'll see if Void Rivals continues to make the cut. You do get to see a new Quintesson in here, or at least a new Quintesson to us. And he is the Tribunal, and he is the war judge of the Quintessons. So that was a cool character, and they said that he was designed by Dave Felici, came back just long enough to design that character so that he looked, very similar to the other Quintessons. But I don't know. It's just, it seems hopeless for the Agorians. Darak's father seems to, he says, we're going to go down fighting with the ship. We're not going to give up. But I don't know. This particular issue just didn't grab me the way that this book normally does. The art's fine. Everything's fine with that. But like I said, after what Kirkman pulled on Transformers, I'm just very leery of these Energon books. Okay. I said this was the second coming of The Walking Dead. It still may be, but it took a twist. And this is by William Harms with J.D. Mavinga, Lee Lowridge, and Ed Dukeshire. And we still get to see how strong these characters act in this new world where there's a white sky that's taken everything away. So it still feels very Walking Dead-ish, but at the same time, she's hearing voices, and somebody's trying to guide her somewhere, and it's interesting, but it took a different turn. It took almost a supernatural turn, and I don't know that I like that. I don't know how I feel about that, because The Walking Dead, even though there were zombies, and we know that there's not such a thing as a zombie, it was very grounded, it was very realistic in its world, and it was very defined. And this book is still trying to find its way. And it may still find its way, but the artwork can be very different. You have scenes like this where it's very detailed and very cross-hatchy. The Last of Us, very much so. And then you have other parts of the title where it looks a little bit different. So it's not that I'm hating on Mavinga's artwork, but it kind of feels like his art style is shifting a little bit as we go from the first issue to the second issue. So let's see where issue 3 takes us and see if I keep up with it post issue 3. Okay. Minor Arcana. I'm sorry guys, I'm just kind of tired tonight for this video. So these are not going to be as detailed because I've just got a big stack of books, and I'm kind of tired, and it's going to be a long day at work. So I hope you guys still enjoy this video, and let me not bring it down anymore, but I just wanted to let you know why I'm not going into the greatest of detail with each one of these books, because it's early and I had to read all of these, and it's a big stack, and my brain is just kind of fried. So I hope you guys understand. But this is still an excellent book. This shows Teresa's grandfather, and that he's trying to rebuild his own life. And at times he just feels like he needs to just jump off the into the deep end. And as he goes into the deep end, then he sees his daughter Vicky, that's just Teresa's mother. And he says, I can't do that to her. And so he starts reading people's tarots and things like that. And in the end, he tries to reconnect with his daughter by showing her how tarot works. And his wife says, no, we're not teaching our daughter that. That's the work of Satan, and we're not doing that. And it was kind of funny because his wife, or his ex-wife, her new husband, look, bud, we just want what's best for Vicky. And he says, why don't you go find your own family, chucklehead? So he's still struggling. But in the end, he meets a character that lets him know, don't give up. I came here to kill you. I've changed my mind about that because I thought you were a fraud, and I thought that you were just trying to take people's money and that you were trying to hurt people. But I see now. He's like, I've been having a dream, and in that dream, it says that we have work to do. And he said, so I'll be seeing you, bud. I'll be back. And I will be back for issue 16 of Minor Arcana. All right. Next up, we have the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, issue number 2. And that's by Fred Kennedy, James Edward Clark, and Becca Kinsey. And this is just nuts. It's just crazy. You have a hurricane, category 5, coming in. You have hippos that are hopped up on cocaine. You've got a former athlete that lost her ride because her leg got broken in a freak accident. So she becomes a DEA agent, and she just goes like to 11. And then you get this girl here who has been trying to save people and get them out of the park. And she comes and tells these two, which the other guy is kind of a rogue cop, and his brother got killed in the explosion in the first issue. So they're kind of fighting, and the girl is like, look, you know, this is beyond normal hippo behavior. These hippos are destroying things. She says, let's see, people were running in every direction, but the hippos, there was a near intelligence. I swear I saw them trying to commandeer a helicopter. So you see a Fed helicopter, and it looks like the hippos are trying to get on board and possibly pilot. Who knows? Who knows? This is some wild, wild stuff, guys. But if you really want something that's just out of this world, check this book out. Do yourself a favor. Read this book. If you're having a really crappy day, get issue 1, get issue 2, sit down and read this. And if you're not laughing by the end of the second issue, actually by the end of the first issue, if you're not like laugh out loud chuckling at certain things that you see, you have no soul. This book is just a trip. It's fun. It's energetic. It's entertaining. And it knows what the job is, to just be as off the wall as physically possible. So, Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, issue number 2 from Mad Cave. All right. And the next to last book we're going to talk about in our greatest hits video coming up is Batman The Dark Knight Returns, issue number 2. And this is again by Frank Miller and Lynn Varley and Klaus Janson. And it's an excellent, excellent copy in the floppy format. And you get to see, hang on, I'm going to spoil this one page. Check that out. Check out Batman and all of his Frank Miller glory. How awesome is that? All right, we'll talk about that in another upcoming video. And the first runner-up for Book of the Week, the pick of the week, is Conan the Barbarian, issue number 30, where Conan finally meets the Son of Tooth. Doug Braithwaite is outdoing himself on this title. It's absolutely amazing, the artwork that this man is bringing to the table. So if we can't have Roberto de la Torre, let's keep Doug Braithwaite on the title for as long as humanly possible. But you also get to see how intelligent Conan is, because towards the end of the book, then, let's see. Okay. He turns the corner and there's Conan, and he says, "Very well, killer. Take off that oily cloak and make your move, or stand down." And he says, "You knew the whole time." He says, "Do you honestly think you're the first assassin who's tracked me down intent on ending my life?" He's like, "The more that you slinked into the shadows, the more I took notice of you. The more that you tried to be invisible, then the more I noticed you." Issue 31 is going to be a blast, folks. You're going to get to see the Son of Tooth versus Conan the Barbarian. And, you know, Bikram, he said, let's have at it. This Jim Zub, thank you, sir. You are doing an absolute just beast of a book on Conan right now. Robert E. Howard would be so, so very proud, as are all of the people that are reading this book. So, Jim, don't go anywhere. Doug, don't go anywhere. Keep doing what you're doing. That is an absolute banger of a book each and every time it comes out. And that is it, guys. That is what I picked up. That is what I have read. Have you guys added any new books to your stacks? Have you dropped anything? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe on the video, and make sure that you come back for more great content, including my upcoming video on the facsimile edition of Batman The Dark Knight Returns, issue number 2 by Frank Miller. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. I hope you get everything at the shop that you want. and I'll catch you next time.